All right, back with another edition of Question of the Day. What we will be doing today is the most underrated quarterbacks. I got your answers from my last video where we talked about the most overrated quarterbacks. And the question for tomorrow is going to be, let's just say, what was your favorite move of the offseason a team made? Whether it's a draft selection, a trade, or a signing, favorite move of the offseason. Put that in the comment section below, and I will answer them on my next video, which will probably be in a couple of days. So make sure you get those in, and let's just get started with the question of the day. Who is the most underrated quarterback in football? The first thing we have is most underrated is Derek Carr. Look at what he did last year with all of the stuff going on. Also gets his thoughts on the last video about who he thinks is most overrated. But we're talking about underrated this time. Derek Carr is definitely someone who got mentioned a few times as an underrated player. He's a really good quarterback. I think there's really little denying that. And he is someone who got way too much criticism, I think, early on in his career. He's, I think, established that he is a, at least top 13-ish quarterback. Again, there's a lot of really good quarterbacks, and he's someone who I think definitely I could see having a Matt Stafford-like run where he's solid in the regular season but gets hot during the playoffs and can lead his team to a Super Bowl championship. So I don't think that's a bad choice putting Derek Carr there, especially, it was a really good choice a couple years ago. People have started to come around on Carr, but I would still think it's fine to put him in the underrated category. We also have this one, which I really think is a good choice, which is Carson Wentz is underrated because he's as good as his receivers are, and his receivers were pretty trash with the Colts and were much better when he was good with the Eagles. Terry, Curtis, and Jahan will be top 15 or top 10. I actually agree with this take. I do think Carson Wentz is underrated. I don't think he's a great quarterback, but again, we're talking about where are you compared to, how good are you compared to what the perception of you is? I think the perception of Carson Wentz is he's like the 25th best quarterback in football. I think he's better than that. Now, how much better? That's a fair question, but it's true that, with the Colts and especially his last year with the Eagles, those receivers were awful. They were not getting open at all. There's not really much you can do about it. Wentz, there's things that he's good about, and I think that he could have a better season with the Washington football team. So I think this is again, how good will he be? That's a fair question, but he'll be better than I think we're used to seeing him. I think this is a good take. Next up, Lamar has become underrated. People keep ranking unproven players like Kyler and Herbert ahead of him, even though Lamar won an MVP and has playoff wins. Meanwhile, Herbert hasn't made the playoffs, and Kyler can't stay healthy or win a playoff game. Well, first, I believe Lamar has one playoff game, not multiple playoff games, but the point still remains. He is definitely much more proven than some other guys who do get ranked ahead of him, and I think that's probably fair. I think that Lamar is someone who, through this point, is one of the more accomplished quarterbacks in football already. I think the question is, many feel as though he has regressed since that MVP season, and the question is how much. I think Lamar is still very good. I think he's actually probably fairly rated. It's funny that he's someone who actually made both lists as overrated and underrated. So to me, that tells me he's actually probably about right. I don't know if he's quite on that Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen level, but I think he's just right behind those guys is where I would have him. So, and I think that's like what the mean, what the average of where everyone ranks him would be. Some people rank him way higher, some people rank him way lower, but I think he, on average, is around kind of right in that tier. Next up, Jameis Winston is underrated and is going to be underrated until he plays a full season with the Saints. He gets hate for going 30 for 30 when Bruce Arians was his coach and literally had Jameis in an air raid system, making him throw deep balls and sporadic throws. In the system with the Saints, I think we're about to witness a damn good season with him having 14 touchdowns to 3 picks last season. Now, with Michael Thomas coming back and Olave coming in, I think we're honestly going to see an MVP season. I believe he has something to prove. Well, I'm not quite sure I would go that far, but again, in terms of underrated, you're probably right to some degree. I think that there's some good points here for sure. The one thing I would bring up is that, Winston had turnover issues before Bruce Arians got there. So it wasn't just the Bruce Arians thing that just kind of, that's when the turnovers exploded, but he has always had turnover issues, even going back to college. And I do think that the small sample size of him playing for the Saints is a little bit concerning to me because the issue with Winston has never been he's incapable of having, a good stretch. It's more so been the consistency issue with Winston. I think it'll be tough to see him. I haven't seen enough of him for me to be willing to say he'll have an MVP caliber season, but I have seen enough of him to say, okay, I think I'm interested in him and probably is better than the general public realizes. So as a whole, I'll say I agree to a certain extent. Next up, Time to defend my Lions. People continue to bag on Goff. Not sure why. He is one of only 2 quarterbacks with 45 wins and 20,000 yards in the past 5 seasons. That's interesting. I mean, again, I don't think wins are a great quarterback stat, but that's something I didn't know about. Although the first half of last year was tough for the whole franchise, he finished with 2 Player of the Week awards after the bye week. He completed 68% of his passes with 11 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions for a 101.8 passer rating. Meanwhile, even some Lions fans call him Goffle. It would be very difficult to be more underrated than Senior Goff. Again, I think I kind of agree with this. I don't know if Goff is great, but I do think Goff is probably underrated. Maybe even I've underrated him to some degree. Because, yeah, he's a fine quarterback. He's not great, but he is someone who has gone to a Super Bowl. Granted, perfect situation around him, but still, it's not easy to get to a Super Bowl even with a perfect situation around you. You still have to find a way to, play well in your own right, and he's played solid. Granted, I don't think he's worth his contract. I just don't. So I do think that probably we're going to see one more year of Goff with the Lions, and then either he's going to agree to a pay cut or just get cut. So that's probably what's going to happen. But that being said, there is still some value, kind of similar to Carson Wentz, of like, maybe he's not a star, but he's someone who can play well, and you put a good situation around him, he can be a good player. So we'll see exactly how it works. And again, I get that, the first half of last year was tough, and the second half he was a lot better. The first half still happened, so you do have to put it all together. But he's not like he's always kind of been an inconsistent player, even going back to the Rams. But the positives are still there, and there's definitely stuff to like about Jared Goff. So I'll agree with that as well. Underrated. Finally, I think Deshaun Watson is criminally underrated at this point. When you rank quarterbacks, you rank them based on what they do on the field, not what they allegedly did off the field. But what is Watson on the field? He's a top 5 quarterback who rivaled Patrick Mahomes' production with a much worse team in 2020. Rodgers, Mahomes, Allen, that's my list that are better than him. Listen, I kind of agree with you. I think Deshaun Watson is an incredible player. Again, if you don't want to forget about the off the field stuff, you don't have to. But in terms of just focusing on what they do on the field, he's a really good player, and I do agree. I had him, I believe, 4th on my quarterback list, which is where you have them. I think that Deshaun Watson is an incredible football player. Again, say what you want about him off the field. We won't get into that. That's not what this video is about. But do I think that he probably gets underrated because of that? I do. Like, I remember when this trade happened, there were some people, most of the discourse was about just why would you trade for someone who has been accused of so much stuff. But the other aspect was some people said, is it even worth giving up that much capital for a guy like Deshaun Watson who is good, not great? I don't agree that he's good, not great. I think he is great. So that's kind of my thought on that. And so I think I agree with that take. So yeah, that's question of the day edition 2. Let me know. It'll be a couple of days. I'm not going to record one over the weekend, but I might record one Monday. Maybe I was thinking maybe do this like Monday through Friday. I thought could just a fun way to interact with the fan base and all of that stuff. Get your sort of know where your guys' head is at and stuff. And I just think it's fun. So again, next edition will be what is your favorite move of the offseason? Let me know in the comments below. And just, so you know exactly what I'm looking for. I think give me the move and put, 1 or 2 sentence explanation. That's kind of the sweet spot of what I'm looking for. So if you can do that, I think that's the best way to make these videos work. So yeah, again, thanks to everyone for watching. Definitely let me know what you think in the comments below. Answer the question of the day in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.